All right, what are you saying? We're here today in a special edition of Paul Mort Talks Shit. In that, one, we are not on camera, and two, Mac is not here. Mac is currently meant to be in Ibiza, but instead he's riding across the country on a bike in the pissing down rain, like the coast to coast. So yeah, we have a special guest today, somebody who I never in a million years thought would come on a podcast. We've got Mrs. Lesley Mort here.
Hello.
This is my wife,
I love
Lesley.
that I'm the second choice from Mac.
Well, of course, you're the second choice. She's hating every second of this so far.
I am. This is not in my comfort zone at all. But
listen, do you know this podcast today isn't the one that you thought it was going to be? In that it's not going to be me asking you questions that people have asked me about what it's like to be married to a fucking lunatic. So today, me and you are quite literally going to have a conversation. So what I wanted to cover today, it's kind of like a post-holiday edition. I actually thought about this quite a lot on the way home from a holiday, and I thought I could give some of you guys an insight. Excuse me. I'm not editing that out because Mac's not here. I thought I'd give you an insight in a kind of like nobody really gets this unless you get it, obviously, right? Like what it's like to go on holiday as a modern day businessman, dad, and slightly insane gentleman, and of course what it's like to be married to a slightly insane gentleman and go on holiday. So yeah, we just had a week in Corfu, and I needed that. Did you?
oh, it was we're desperate, weren't we?
Desperate.
That holiday got cancelled. We were supposed to go away May half term, which was like the 28th of May or something.
Aye.
And that holiday was cancelled and rearranged about 4 or 5 times.
Right.
I mean, up until the point
I
that
got
we
a little-
went.
do you know what? I got a little-
and
Well, the Friday before.
3 days beforehand
Aye.
or something.
Aye.
But we were so desperate to get away.
Well, I said,
Just went anywhere.
I said, listen, I don't, because listen, my life is in such a place now where it's weird. We should have a lot of flexibility. We could have a lot of holidays. However, those holidays can't just be, let's go on holiday tomorrow. You can't do that when you're running a team, right? We've got a big squad now. We've got a lot of clients. We've got a lot of people relying on us, so we can't just disappear. We could essentially, if we wanted to, we could have 3 months holiday a year. But they'd still have to be
planned, wouldn't they?
They'd need to be, right, we're going on this date and we'll come back on this date. So when they kept cancelling it, my heart broke a little bit more.
Me too.
Every little time.
And I was like, we need to go on holiday this Monday because we've got something on the Tuesday that we can't rearrange. And
well,
so
I remember when TUI rang us up and they said, we've got Turkey or somewhere else.
Which one suits you best?
Which one? It was a great sales conversation,
was,
actually.
wasn't
They didn't bring no into play. They didn't bring, just cancel it. They were like, which one suits you best? And the Turkey flight was like a 3 a.m. and I'm sure we'll cover this. It was a 3 a.m. flight getting home. But actually, it was get home at 3 a.m. and I was like, fuck that.
That's not an option for you, is it?
Well, not just I had work that day, but staying up that late isn't a thing. In my life, staying up that late isn't a thing
There's
anymore.
no point in having a holiday, really. For
I need
you.
another one.
You wouldn't
Imagine
need a
that.
holiday when
Think
you
about
got
this.
back.
Imagine for you, getting a flight from Turkey. By the way, when that happens, you've always got all day hanging around the hotel with fuck all to do. All your stuff's in a suitcase. You're waiting to go home. And then you get home at 3 a.m. and you've had to sit through a flight with me and the 2 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably wouldn't be the
Not
problem.
a short flight from Turkey, neither.
Nah, they wouldn't be the problem.
No, you would be.
They wouldn't be the problem.
Mr. Grumpy when
And
he's not.
yeah. When I'm tired, I am a complete prick. Yeah.
I'm not going to disagree.
Yeah, and can I tell you something, you guys listening? That Tuesday, that's the reason why I do the podcast on a Tuesday, because on a Monday, I basically I'm empty my tank on a Monday, coaching, training, delivering sessions online, on the phone all day on a Monday. That just suits me. But then on Tuesday, I'm very unproductive normally. So talking is in a podcast is fun. So yeah, I'm really grouchy when I'm tired. So yeah, we ended up in Corfu.
Corfu. It was beautiful, wasn't it?
It was beautiful. I never thought. When I was telling people, it was almost like I didn't want to tell them where I was going.
I know. Well, because I remember when we were kids, Greece was somewhere that you went.
Like, I don't even.
Can remember people saying, "Oh, the hotels aren't very good in Greece," and
the men are slimy. The men are slime balls.
3-star, and they're not really that good. And
and
I've also got. Where's that place where all the kids go in Greece?
Ayia Napa.
No, that's
Cyprus. Kavos
or something like that.
That is Kavos.
I've got pictures of that in my head.
Well, do you know what was funny?
And that's what I was thinking
when I was
about
telling
when you
people,
said
and you probably
Corfu.
did the same. And it's weird. Every time I said Corfu, I felt like I had to justify the fact that I was going
That's
there.
the only place that could
Isn't
go.
that pure ego?
It is.
Isn't that weird?
But do you know what? If you've never been to Corfu, it was beautiful. It reminded us a little bit between a mix between Croatia and parts of Turkey. We went to, is it called Fieti? I'm not sure how to pronounce it when we went to Turkey, which was really pretty as well, wasn't it? Like
it was near Dalaman and that one, eh?
Yeah, mountainous and beautiful.
Beautiful sea.
And that's what it was like. So, if you haven't been to Corfu, go.
Do you know what with Corfu? I was pleasantly surprised, but I also think that you could have fucking sent me anywhere and I'd have been good. Anywhere with sun and no phone would have been amazing. Because I want to cover that today because I get asked about it all the time because everyone's always surprised, blown away, and always adding, I couldn't do that when we talk about no phone. So I'm going to tell you the truth here. For about 3 years, I hated going on holiday. I used to look forward to it, and then I was just a dick. I'm sure Lesley will agree with you. I should sip that coffee before she has to say this. She's having a drink of courage. Was I a nightmare on holiday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when do you mean?
Which time?
Which time?
Well, I'm thinking.
I think
about,
when my kids were really young, like
Egypt.
we're talking.
Remember Egypt? Egypt.
That was a really difficult holiday. You weren't very well at the time, anyway.
I was mentally not in a good place. I was fat as fuck.
Yeah.
I was fat. I was grumpy.
The kids were Nina was 6 months old. Max was 2.5, nearly 3.
Yeah.
Like the kids were difficult.
Yeah.
It's not fun. They were both in a pushchair, weren't they?
Yeah.
So it's not fun. Like it's going on holidays.
Yeah, holidays back then were a nightmare.
2 pushchairs, whingy kids, like 3.
I was tired.
One of them.
I was tired. But the thing is, here's the thing. Back then, I'm sure we'll come on to it. I was tired all the fucking time.
Yeah.
I was tired before I went. I was tired while I was there. I was tired when I remember sleeping a lot on that holiday. Yeah, I was tired when I came back. There was a little bit of, and I'm sure you guys listening on who are businessmen get this. There's a little bit of paranoid about the business, what's happening at home, and then you're scrolling your fucking phone all the time. It was a weird experience for me, and I think one of the biggest changes I've ever made was just not taking my phone on holiday. Yeah. Because I think that the reality is it's difficult for a modern day man. You can tell me whether it's the same for a modern woman. Would you class yourself as a modern woman, by the way?
I think I would.
Isn't that an interesting thing to say?
What do you mean by modern? Or
I don't know.
Quite old.
I don't
quite
know.
Old.
One of my old coaches back in 2014, Garrett White, used to say modern men and modern businessmen. And I
think it means in modern times as opposed to whether or not you're a modern woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a woman.
You've got no choice in modern woman.
Times.
In a modern woman.
We all are, aren't they?
It's not like keeping up with the fashion and that, is it?
No.
I'm dressed like a fucking 18-year-old today. Dressed like a fucking 18-year-old in that. So I think for me it's difficult for a modern day man not to just be distracted all of the time. And I find that when I'm distracted, like I'm not present, but I'm also just snappy and grouchy. I still get like that now. Like you think about this, when you're distracted, it's hard to focus on anything, never mind on the stuff that makes you happy. But what I found was that if I'm checking my phone and the kids want me attention, which let's face it,
it's
with
hard
Nina,
if you're
it's a lot of the time.
It's when you're trying to do more than one thing at the same time, you end up snappy and you end up doing both things shit. And I remember doing that. Particularly, I struggled when the kids were younger and I was kind of half working from home, half looking after the kids. Yeah. I felt like I was doing everything a little bit.
You're not really giving anything your full attention.
You're not doing a great job at work. You're not doing a great job of being a parent. And your head is just not is all over the place.
Yeah.
So you're snappy.
It's like spreading yourself thin, right?
Pissed off at the work because it's getting in the way. So I mean,
I suppose you never fully committed to either.
No,
like I was
sitting in the shit zone.
You're not black. You're not in the black zone. You're not in the white zone. You're in the fucking grey zone or the brown zone. You never get fuck all done. What I will say is that I remember reading something. In fact, I might have even wrote it, which was imagine your kid wanting your attention and you can't give them it because you're looking at your phone. This is something that I get guilty about now. It's that you're your kid's hero and you snap at them because they're pulling you away from what are essentially strangers.
You're giving them
on the other side of your phone.
that
the screen's
whatever's
more
on
important.
your phone is more important than them, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's hard. That's a hard thing to get over. So I suppose, I don't know what made me, do you know what made me go on holiday without my phone? I was in a program called Strategic Coach, which is excellent for a while. And they gave me this concept of a free day. I've got one tomorrow and I haven't had one for a little. In fact, it's been a week since I had one. But I've been a little bit slack with it, haven't I?
You have.
So tomorrow I've got a free day. And a free day was the concept of every week having a day, whether it was a weekend or not. I prefer to do it on a Wednesday. It breaks up my week lovely for rest and recovery and letting my brain relax a little bit. They had the concept of 24 hours with no work, no talking about work, no emails, etc., no social media for work, etc., no thinking about work, which is that's impossible. Yeah. It's like going into a titty bar and not looking at the tits. Not that I've been to one, Leslie. Leslie, I want to
like
do that.
In Vegas.
That time in Vegas. No, we didn't actually go to a titty bar in Vegas.
Okay.
One time, we went to, I'm going to tell you this one. One time we went to a titty bar in Hollywood with Krebsy and Luca. And Luca paid for private dance of the biggest, tallest girl.
Tallest or biggest?
No, not big. Tallest girl
Right.
I've ever seen. Like, she could have played like power forward for the Toronto Raptors. She was that. I hope he's listening in. Yeah, and honestly, even now, and here's the one thing we did as well.
But you're still giving me.
We hadn't drank much, and on the way home from the strip club, he in America, strip club.
The eagle.
No, that was the time you were stoned. But this in America, strip clubs are quite. For me, they're not a big thing in England. Like South Shields doesn't have one. There's like one in Newcastle. Sunderland doesn't have one, so we don't really have
not
one.
a big thing.
But in America, it's a big thing, right? Anyway, on the way back from the club, Luca had to stop the car and he puked up all over the side of the pavement. Then he got his nickname Puker. So if you're listening, Puker Hosevar, don't think I've forgotten about that. Anywho, what was I talking about here? Not having your phone on and saying, I'm not going to check my emails. I'm not going to look at Facebook. I'm not going to look at Instagram. I'm not going to look at LinkedIn. For me, that's impossible. For me personally, that's impossible. So I made the decision for that 24 hours to go with no phone. And it was weird at first, wasn't it? Because you couldn't, you're like, how do I contact you?
Well, yeah, it was. But I think also you felt like your arm had been chopped off, didn't you?
I'd say it was weird.
You get so used to when you stand and waiting, getting
even
your phone out.
Even just a break in conversation,
yeah.
You'd be checking your phone. Like, what am I like in a meeting? I need to check my phone. But before, I was
carrying... What are you checking for?
I don't even know. Before, I was coming back from Cafe Nero with 3 coffees and a carrier bag, and my phone went off, and I couldn't check it. Honestly, my hands were fucking itching to check my phone. Anyway, so I added that concept of that, and it was weird at first because I couldn't contact anyone. The worst part was I didn't know the time. Yeah. I didn't ever know what the time was. So I'd be late for picking the kids up and that. That was before I had a Fitbit. But I found that whole process like life-changing. It felt like, do you know when you plug your phone in when it's dead? That's what I felt like every Wednesday when I did that. And the cool piece of it is that I want to add in is that people are like, I can't do it, I'm too busy. What it forced me to do is I looked, do you know, before you go on holiday, even if you take your phone that week, your productivity's through the roof because you've got urgency because you're going on holiday. Mm-hmm. It's like at Christmas, you're always really productive. For a lot of guys, before their tax returns due. Yeah. Before your tax returns due or some reports are due, your urgency's through the roof, so your productivity's high, so you're not watching fucking YouTube videos of cats playing the piano or old grandmas doing crazy shit. That's what Max was watching last night. So my productivity started, Monday and Tuesday, started to become like super productive. And Lesley used to hate it on a Thursday because I'd come back and me ideas would be nuts just because I'd had a day away from my phone. So it felt like a recharge for me.
I used to come back with like 20 emails. Can you do this? Can you do this?
What about this idea? What about that? I'm still like that now, by the way. And Leslie's always been great.
But do you think that is because when you've got the time to sit back, it's like when your best ideas come in the shower.
In the shower or having a shit.
When you're not actually thinking about all the chaos, that's when you get your best ideas. And having that downtime is actually creativity.
Yeah, frees up your creativity. And I think I saw something last night. I was watching this TV show, and this guy said to another guy, just said, eyes up. This guy was lacking confidence, and he said, just get your eyes up. And I think that's what happens sometimes. When you're so busy, your head's down all the time.
Yeah.
Working, head down, ass up.
You can't see the wood for the trees,
can
you?
Yeah. So when I have my free day, there's actually nothing to look down at. And then, I can't even remember what it was, but I was like, do you know what? I'm going to try doing this for a week. My record's 2 weeks. That was hard, by the way.
Is that when we're
in Thailand? I'm in Thailand. But my record, the week thing, Again, it's hard not checking your phone when you're on holiday because you think something's going to go wrong. But I'm going to drop a little bomb right now that you might not like. If you can't do that, do you have a fucking business? Probably not. You probably have a job that you disguise as a business that you get no sick pay and holiday pay for. Because if I can't do that, if I can't take just a few days away from my phone, I haven't really got a business. And if I have, and I've got a team, the team's shit. Yeah, that's a big shout out to my team, by the way, Catherine and Mac. What are you saying? And we're doing this with Mac not here. He's proved that he's disposable, by the way.
No, he hasn't. When you were panicking about that video over the weekend, you're like, oh my God, where's Mac?
He's actually, Mac right now is fucking indisposable. So let's say, I would edit that bit out, but I don't know how. Without giving it to Mac, funny enough. Yeah, so we did this whole concept of a free week. And it made me... And it's amazing because you think you haven't got time to do it. You think you couldn't do it. But once I committed to it, I kind of forced myself to do it. Because either side of that, I had to create the systems and the processes, the automation, the systemization. That's a big word, isn't it? Automation, systemization. And by the way, when I first did this, I didn't really have a team. No. I used to just send some email autoresponders. I'd have Facebook ads running. I don't set up automated.
Cross my fingers and hope everything goes
all right and then come back. And the reality is, right, your business isn't going to fall apart by taking a week off.
What's the worst that can happen?
Exactly. Think about it? I'll have a lot of PTs listen to this, actually. Yeah. And it's not, the podcast isn't aimed at PTs.
Somebody might get pissed off because they've sent you an email that you haven't replied to.
Well, listen, I said this before I went this time. I said, you know what? Right now, we've probably got more clients than we've ever had in my various programs. We're helping more people than we've ever helped. Even if someone can't allow me to go on holiday for a week,
they're not a good fit.
They're a fucking shit client.
Not a good client.
I was saying to someone the other day, it means they've got no respect for my time, no respect for... And what you got to remember as a business, you're the fucking catch. Particularly for anybody that's a coach, offers a serve, whatever it is, you're the catch. You're the best at what you do. You got to have that belief, right? So I'm like, listen, if you don't want to work with me, because I've gone on holiday for a week with my family to spend time with my family. You don't respect my time. You don't respect my family's time. You don't respect my self-care.
Yeah.
So essentially, you can eat shit. And go somewhere else. And you might be thinking, well, that's easy for you to say, Paul. Well, it is easy for me to say. But that's only because I've put the systems, the automation, the delegation in place for me to do that. Now, this is not a brag, by the way. It's actually advice. Start with the one day and it'll change your life. It will change your entire fucking life. It'll free up time. It actually, when I spend too much time on my phone, I feel it in my body. Yeah, my neck's sore, my shoulder's sore. So my body tells me. But honestly, it'll change your fucking life. And again, the thing is, it forced me to level up my business. It forced me to level up my organization, which is huge. It forced me to level up my planning, my team, my systemization. So it's a huge deal. On the why no phone, I've just looked at my notes there. Why no phone? Well, for me, I can say do it. I can say, here's how we did it. And I won't lie to you, the week before and the week after are still, even though we've got a team, even though our systems, automation processes are world class, it's still a bit of a clusterfuck either side. Yeah. It's still, the week before is, especially this time.
Well, because we had a big event.
Yeah, we had two big events.
2 days before as well. So it wasn't just getting ready to go on holiday for a week. It was getting ready for the event. And, I mean, it's worth it. You just have to go eat shit sometimes to get through it.
You have to eat shit. And if you have to eat shit, I always say it, don't fucking nibble.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not like what people think is that I just leave people hanging. I don't. My guys still get trainings. My staff still get what they need. We give them a briefing before we go. I just automate and systemize it all. I'm not just disappearing for a week and letting people like run my fucking business for me. I'm prepping them. I'm organizing them. I'm setting expectations. We're making agreements with what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. When can you contact me? Hey.
What makes you think, right? So why do you feel like you need to go cold turkey with it? Like for me, so when we go on holiday, I check my emails once a day. So why do you think for some people that's not a good option? And you personally, why do you feel like you personally have to go completely cold turkey?
That's a great question, you know. It's like I tend to struggle a bit with moderation, as you know. You might have figured that out in the last 20 years. Do you know what's funny? Someone asked me, Jade Alexander, a friend of mine, James Smith's mate, tall white friend, I think they call him. He asked me, he said, well, how do you take photos and that? I said, well, believe it or not, My wife has a phone.
That's why there's never any photos of me on holiday.
It is. And it's funny.
I'm the one with the phone taking the photo.
I remember I've been back from holidays before and I haven't got any photos because sometimes you haven't bothered. Why do I think that is? I think it's because I'm either all in or I'm all out with a lot of things. That's why it took me so long to start this podcast. Yeah. I was like, do you know what? If I'm going to fucking do it, I'm going to do it properly.
Shall I tell you why I think it is?
Why?
I think it's because if you check your emails on a morning and you've got shit to deal with, then it's on your mind all day.
Yeah, I carry that energy into the day. Well, let's think about this. When I'm at home, I don't even check my emails first thing in the morning. I do other shit before because I want to put my state in a good place. And also, I'm like, listen, I'm either on holiday or I'm at work. And I don't like this is one of the reasons why I do all them calls on a Monday. I like the concept of time chunking, which is putting all the same activities together. Like we could essentially do 2 or 3 podcasts a day. Yeah. Right? That's what we've done in the past. Let's not do a podcast a day. Let's do fucking 17 in one day, right? and that just works better for me as a concept because it means I can stay, I think people call it like flow. Yeah. I'm in the podcast flow or I tend to write a lot of emails in one go. I still need to write one. I've just remembered that now. I've just remembered I need to write one for my ladies. And the ladies will notice. I'm talking to you ladies that notice all this shit. But I think we just get into a flow and I'm like either I'm on holiday or I'm at work. I think...
Do you know what I think you
it's different when it's my fucking baby. Do you know what I mean?
I think you struggle with, so for example, when I'm on holiday, I'll go into my emails and I'll check there's nothing urgent and I'm really happy to leave the ones that aren't urgent until I get back. Yes. But I think you really struggle with
everything's urgent.
Leaving things, don't you? You're like, oh my God, if it's not dealt with now, it's like you carry the energy that it's undone.
Yeah.
Don't you?
And listen, let's face it as well. I get a lot of shit online. So if I seen that on holiday, I'd just be like, I'd have to, I'd probably go after them. I don't know. I think it's just like, and again, I think the benefits of not taking it have just outweighed taking it and checking emails for an hour a day. Because you got to consider, I get a lot of emails. I think
for you, you're right. Like for a lot of people, it's essential, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't be fully committed to relaxing when I'm also checking my shit. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And it's, I think the benefits for me are full relaxation, fully present with my kids, not with my kids, but mentally in my emails. Because that's what I do. I'm still mentally there. Yeah. It's not like I'm with you sitting around the pool, which we can now do, which is amazing. This is probably the first holiday we've actually been able to get a fucking tan we used to, even last year, even February, we used to have to set a timer for who could read the book.
We did.
Right, you've got 10 minutes to read your book now.
Because although our kids that can go in the pool.
Lesley's paranoid as fuck.
Last year I was, even though they can both swim and have been able to swim strongly for ages, I still wanted me eyes on them when in the pool, so I wouldn't read my book. I wouldn't put my eyes down off my book.
Literally sit. You wouldn't even sit down?
I know.
Sit on the edge of the pool?
Say, right, well, you have 15 minutes reading your book and I'll watch them and then we'll swap over.
Yeah, it's
pathetic,
crazy.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But this year we didn't do that.
Nah.
We literally just...
So if I'm sitting around the pool with you, I can't have, like, what am I going to post on Facebook in the back of my mind? I wonder who's commented on my Instagram in the back of my mind. It just doesn't work for me. No. And I think creativity-wise, it's amazing. But really, it forces me to level up my business as well. And relaxation-wise, it's on a different planet. So people talk about switching off. I don't think I ever really switch off. And I don't think most people that do what I do, not just self-employed men, tend to not be able to switch off. But I also think that that's okay. The problem happens when you think you have to switch off. So my whole thing is the only time my brain really switches off is when I'm asleep. And even then, it's still processing shit. Like, that's a fact. So I'm like, the problems start with the switching off thing when you think you're supposed to. And I'm going to throw something quite controversial in the mix here. Self-employed people have a creative mindset. And I've said this all of the time when we're going to talk about anxiety on flights and all these meltdowns and fucking digestives and MK Dons on a flight. We'll talk about that in a second. I think self-employed people especially are problem solvers. We're high-level problem solvers, creative as fuck, so that we can't just switch off like what I'd call, I'm going to say the word normal.
That's me. I'm a normal person. I can switch off.
Normal.
That's cool.
Yeah. Lesley's normal, so she can switch off, right? Abnormal people, fucking aliens, like, we don't necessarily have this ability to switch off because we're creative. The mind's always looking for problems to solve and actually looking for progress, a high-level problem-solving tool. That's why you're self-employed. People who do jiu-jitsu are creative as fuck usually as well because you're solving problems constantly. So on holiday, I'm not switched off completely, but I'll be not worried about it. I'll be like, that's why I read so much. Like, I'll get through 2 books easily on holiday. That's why you notice this. You know what it's like on holiday? I always have to be doing something. What we're doing next. I've got like this. Honestly,
like
I have an itinerary in the back of my head.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking to Tyson about this. We were talking about this because he does the same. He makes a list. And then he said to me, how many of those things do you do? I'm like, well, none. None. But if I have the list, my mind's been...
But I mean, even on holiday, you're like, right, well, we'll get up and I'll do me planner and then we'll go for breakfast and then we'll do this.
Then I'll go for me. Then I'll do me 10,000 steps, Nito 24/7.
Yeah.
Then I'll sit around the pool and then I'll have a dip and then I'll read and then I'll do some note taking. Then I'll highlight some things in the book and then
literally, some people would.
Then I'll nap.
Would drive some wives mad, wouldn't they?
But that's how I get my relaxation, you know.
Yeah.
Like that's for me. That is how I get my relaxation because it's almost. You think about this. I'm just organizing my thoughts. I'm just organizing my thoughts. Sometimes writing that list solves the problem for me.
Because do you think it's because you don't like being uncertain? Do you feel lost?
Nah, like being I do well with uncertainty. That's why I've been able to take such fucking mad risks. Do you know what I mean? I do well with it. Yeah. I think what I like is it certainty? What I like is, you got to think about this. If I wouldn't say I'm highly organized, but to do what I do, I have to have some plan and strategy. That's all I'm doing. Yeah. It's a strategy for chilling. Do you know what I mean? It's weird. Like trying to go from someone that's got it's strategic as fuck every day. Everything that I do is really strategic, right? Yeah. Sometimes it's off the cuff. Like today, I've got like notes that I actually can't even read. Never mind, Lesley. It's just some ideas. Yeah. But I have some strategy to know that we're going to do a podcast today, that you've got to pick the kids up at 1:30 from surfing, that I'm going to come with you, so I have to be done. But what I'm saying is that my way, that's just me organizing my thoughts, and it's a strategy for just being able to chill, knowing where my mind's going. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So onto that, right? We talked about this on holiday. We noticed that. And again, what I want you to consider is I'm not really judging people here. I just want you to give you some insight into why we don't drink much anyway, but we don't drink on holiday ever.
We don't do it.
Nah. No. And I say this, and every time I go on holiday, I mention it, and I'm thinking, because you do, when you're on the pool and you're on holiday at the same time with people, let's face it, every fucker people watches. You're kind of like, oh, there's them that keep stealing me fucking sunbed. There's them with the naughty kids. There's them who had an argument last night because they're not even sitting next to each other at breakfast today. But I notice how much people fucking drink. I think it's because it's been an issue for me in the past. I notice how much people drink. And I always think they can't be having a good fucking time, surely.
We never drank on holiday since we've had the kids. And even before then, we never really...
Have we never drank on holiday?
I think the thought of being on holiday with 2 kids...
And having a hangover.
And being hungover and not having me mum and go, Mum, come and get the kids, I'm dying. Yeah. It's just like... Well,
I just think, even when people haven't got kids, I'm just thinking, well, I don't want my kids to see me pissed, really. It's not It's not really a thing for me. I don't want to be hungover.
That time, and you had a vodka or something on the flight. Max was freaking
once
out.
I went to Dubai. And that's our favourite place to go, Dubai. And funny enough, you guys listening, we just got an email this morning. I'm going for my 40th birthday at the Atlantis. It's my favourite place. I'm taking my mum and dad. I'm very excited about it. And we got an email this morning saying the flight's being cancelled. Again, my heart broke a little bit, but we've managed to rebook it. But we'll have to drive to Manchester, so we'll have to maybe we'll have a little trip to Manchester. Yeah. Anyway, it's like a really early flight as well, isn't it? Fuck it, we'll go the day before. Anyway, so on the flight to Manchester, for some reason, I was like, let's have a little vodka. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna have a little vodka here, one of them tiny little bottles. And my son was looking at me. He was like, Dad, that stinks. Dad, that stinks. And he looked, he was like, Dad, are you drunk? It's like, me, I've only had a fucking sip, man. I totally freaked out. And it's not that I'm judging people. It's just that I look at people, I'm like, I go on holiday for 2 reasons. One, it's a bit of a reward for hard work. And it's a rest from hard work, recovery. But also, I heard Dan Sullivan, a strategic coach, has this saying, which is like, rest isn't just a reward for hard work, and you shouldn't treat it so. Why are you looking at my hand?
Because it keeps on moving and talking with your hands.
Listen, if I didn't have hands, I couldn't talk, me. And And he said that rest isn't just a reward for hard work, it's a prerequisite for exceptional performance. So what I'm saying here is the other side of my holiday, I know that I've got some big shit to do. So for me, I'm like, I don't want to go home. Surely when you've been drinking for a week, you must go home feeling worse.
Well, that's the thing. We consider a holiday to be recharging your batteries, don't you?
Yeah.
And I don't. Sometimes you go on holiday and you're literally empty, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I was this time. Fuck me, I couldn't even talk.
If you then go on holiday, I mean, we already, when we're not on holiday, look after our health quite well, don't we? Yeah. We eat fairly well.
Listen, you have to.
We don't drink. And if we're empty off that, when we go, can you imagine how we would feel if we were drinking the whole time?
I think, you know what I think, Lesley,
when
right?
we came back.
This wasn't part of the podcast, but I think for a lot of people, they just forget what feeling good feels like. They forgot what feeling good feels like. Because I think we'll have a decent time, we'll be hungover. Monday and Tuesday, again, this is going to depend 100% on your fucking age, no doubt about it. Yeah, I was talking to James Smith about this. He was like, mate, once I got to 30, me hangovers were a different level. But I'm like, Monday and Tuesday, you're still a little bit fucked. You don't train. You eat a little bit shit because you still feel a little bit like shit. You're still dehydrated, really. That's people's problem. And then by the time you get to Friday, you're like, oh, I made it through the week. And then it's like, oh, I fucking deserve a drink. And then you just repeat that cycle. So I think that's what happens to a lot of people when on a holiday. And again, I'm not judging. I'm not judging at all. I haven't got an issue with it. But maybe if you're sick of feeling like shit, if your mood's up and down, if you're always tired, if you're not making any progress in your life, maybe this is something you need to look at. Like a booze-free holiday could change your entire fucking life. Again, if you want to have a fucking piss up on holiday, I haven't got a problem with that. But you're here listening to me for a reason. You respect my opinion, hopefully. Or you laugh at my jokes or something like that. Or you wanted to hear what it's like to be married to a fucking lunatic. But I'm like, listen, one big bit. Someone asked me yesterday, what was the biggest thing that happened for you? What's the biggest thing that's made the biggest difference to your recovery from all your shit? I said, probably getting a handle on boozing and sniffing. And I'm not fucking perfect, but a booze-free holiday, I'm telling you right now, has the ability, I'm even thinking this, I've never even thought about this before, just a week on holiday in the sun. Don't worry about what you're eating. Get some walks in, get some naps in, some nice, because you're not going to stay up late if you're not boozing. Like, imagine how fucking great you would feel when you came back. Like, you then have, because I think what will happen is you'll have a week away, then you come back, and then you've survived the week back, which I think is fucking insanity, and then you just drink again.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to make this too much about booze, but again, what I will say is,
I mean, that holiday blues feeling anyway is.
Well, actually, I don't get it that much. I'm excited to go back to work, and I think,
but that's because you've had a rest.
It's because I've had,
Isn't it? It's because you've had a rest.
And I remember the 2 weeks in Thailand after 10 days, I was ready.
You were.
I was ready. I was like, fuck. It was almost like I'd been like reborn. That's the fucking shittest thing I've ever said. That is the most American thing I've ever fucking said. The rebirth of Paul Mort. Oh my God. Apologies to our American friends, but that is a super fucking young. I'm like a young fucking Tony Robbins mush. So anyway, what I'm saying is, like, I'm excited to go again because I've had the rest, because I haven't had my phone, and I'm just fucking good to go again. So that could be a life-changing thing for you, the no booze thing. And again, a big reason why is I think this is huge. I've got a mission. I've got a mission. And I think that if you do want to get a handle on your boozing, you've got to find something that you give more of a fuck about. It's why I've seen so many guys change their lives just by signing up for a charity boxing match. Yeah. They're like, and I must have cornered 60 or 70 people in these matches. And no one wants to show up and get the shit beaten out of them in front of their friends and family. So people will start, not everyone. I've seen a guy have a line of coke before a fight. No shit, because he needed energy. I'm saying, mate, don't you worry about it. When that fucking bell goes, you will have enough energy. Trust me. But yeah, I think that that having something that you give a shit about is a big way to be like, no, I'm not drinking because I want to feel good for that.
I agree.
Like, think about that. We had 2 weeks. We had 2 hard weeks to start a lockdown in May, where we drank for 2 weeks in a row. And I was like, why am I doing this? It's not like me, that. 2 weeks in a fucking row, well,
the first week was my birthday, wasn't it?
I think it was a week before your birthday.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't wait.
Yeah, that's right.
And we looked at it. I'm like, the 2 weeks, probably the month around that, I just found hard. I mean, I was working my ass off. I wasn't training.
It was really difficult. I think, obviously, it was the very beginning of May.
No.
Actually, the first week that we drank was the last week in April.
Was it?
And I think that was really the hardest time of lockdown because it was kind of...
But it wasn't really a lockdown at the start, was it?
No, but that
it wasn't like a locky window, was it?
It was like literally like what, completely locked down at that stage.
Yeah.
But
was that why you weren't supposed to leave the house and that?
Yeah,
you're only allowed in your garden.
There was no end in sight neither.
Yeah.
It was like, it was really hard and there was a lot of uncertainty about,
Hey, isn't it weird that I'm making a big deal of drinking 2 weeks in a row? Isn't that really weird that? But that shows you how much of a handle I've been able to get on it. But the reason I'm saying this is because there was two things that we did to get a handle on it. Again, I'm not sure whether it was my way of dealing with the stress of lockdown because I didn't really feel the stress of lockdown. But what I have to have as a man, I've never been a woman, so I don't know, you can tell me. I have to have something to look forward to every day.
I think
every day, one question I ask is...
Human beings need to have
something to look forward to, yeah. Something to get excited about, something in the future to look forward to and not just dread. So normally for me, I wouldn't drink on a Friday because it would be like cinema. I'd be looking forward to going to cinema that week. Be looking forward to going out for food.
But during lockdown, there was nothing.
Nothing to do. And even
on a weekend.
even like a consequence of not drinking or consequence of drinking would be I've got jiu-jitsu in the morning. I'm rolling jiu-jitsu in the morning. I've got boxing tomorrow. I've got to train in the morning. That wasn't there either. So there was almost no accountability not to drink either. Yeah. So there's two little tips for you. Listen, if you want to get a handle on your boozing, you've got to have something else to look forward to. Because let's face it, we drink because it makes us feel better. And guess what? I'm going to admit this. It's fun as fuck. It's fun as fuck for a bit, isn't it? It's fun as fuck for a little bit. It is. It's fun as fuck for a little bit. And guess what else it is? Not only does it make you feel better, it's fun as fuck for a little bit. It's also really easy. It's easy. Like, if you don't have a reason not to drink, why wouldn't you? Like, honestly, I'm not even joking there. Like, if you don't have a reason not to drink, no reason at all not to drink, so there's no consequence, there's no forfeit, there's no, you don't see
like
the...
You're selling it, yeah.
It does. But I'm going to go the opposite of that. If there's no real drawback to not boozing, if there's no real negative, if there's no disadvantages, if there's no kind of, if there's no consequence to it, like, why wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean?
So what you're saying, create your own...
You have to create...
consequences.
Yeah. You have to see the negatives. You have to see the drawbacks. You have to create the drawbacks. That's what I hadn't created. And also, around that, if you guys want to get I created an audiobook, shameless plug this, it's £3 maybe 4. Go to endselfsabotagebook.com and I'll teach you how to really get a handle on your boozing. But essentially what I'm saying is that one thing you got to do is create something to look forward to. So you've got to replace the booze with something to look forward to. And then you've got to have something also that means there's a drawback. Like a mission, something to get your teeth into, something that you can't afford to be hungover for.
I think for me, like obviously I'm training always and always have a goal with regards to me training and which keeps on moving forward the better you get.
Yeah.
When we didn't drink on holiday, for example, when we were on holiday, we didn't drink. We ate well and we trained. I trained 3 times.
Yeah, I did too. I fucking hated it.
The thought of all that hard work, getting messed up in a week.
Yeah,
that's what drives me to think. I'm thinking like, well, I could go back 6 weeks here if I don't.
And let's face it,
you could literally
in a week you could go back 6 weeks. You're right.
6 weeks.
You're right.
So that's the consequence for me. Also,
do you know this is the first holiday I haven't?
Yeah.
Well, I thought I had. I came back. I was 79.9 before I went away, and I worked my ass off. Hence, I was able to post a picture in Budgie Smugglers, which is really cool, nice. But I came back and I was 83 kilos. I was like, what the fuck? But then I was 80 point something within a couple of days. So clearly, I just needed a couple of big shits. I was like that because I was like,
it was water retention.
It wasn't water retention. Alex wouldn't let me get away with that. But I'm thinking like,
that's a woman.
Surely,
that's a woman's
excuse. Is it? Surely you can't be like. Surely you can't gain 3 kilos of fat that have took me fucking 4 months to get off in a week. But clearly it was just a big shit. I think it was just 3 kilos of pita bread.
It was that meal because I was huge.
The gyros.
Yeah.
It was. It must have been that. The gyros. It was the gyros that got me, that put all that weight back on me. So I think we covered enough about booze there, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that you wanted to talk about is, I can remember one of your clients very recently saying like, I hate going on holiday with my family.
Yeah.
It's really stressful.
Yeah.
And
because you're trying to be at work and be...
I can remember thinking when our kids were young, it was really difficult to go on holiday.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that men particularly, I mean, it's not like a sexist thing or anything, but
Yes.
I remember when I wasn't really working, when our kids were really young, and I was literally looking after the kids 24/7.
Yes.
And you would go out to work, and you
I was probably hiding in the fucking bedroom with the curtains closed most of the time.
You didn't really have any idea what life was like at home with two kids. And then you go on holiday and you're submerged in that.
Do you know what you're seeing here?
With the kids, and it's like, fuck, like this is not fun.
Yeah.
And that's
what you're
what
seeing
men
here?
struggle with. And then they struggle with the guilt of the fact that they don't like
And the wife has to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, fuck, like I can't. And that makes them feel shit. And I think there's nothing that you can really do in that other than make them realise that that's
it's
normal.
okay. But I think it exposes men a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So when I said at the start of lockdown, I think a lot of relationships were exposed. Like people actually realising that they don't like the person that they live with, but they don't see them enough normally. So for 2 hours on a night watching fucking Netflix, that's it normally, maybe the weekend together. But suddenly they're spending 24 hours a day together and they're thinking, fuck me, you're a dick. I think that's happening on holiday. Fuck me, my kids are assholes. Fuck me, my kids are a pain in the arse. Yeah, but I think that it's also because there's a couple of things that are onto that with holidays. They're stressful because of that, because you're not used to seeing it. 2, because your fucking state's shit. Yeah. The way you feel fucked mentally, physically, and emotionally. Then you're boozing. Course it's going to be stressful. It's hard to make good decisions, almost impossible to make good decisions and handle difficulties, we'll say, handle challenges when you feel like shit. Trust me, when you feel great, like challenges aren't challenges. Like I only get triggered by someone telling me to kill myself when I'm tired. If I'm feeling good,
it goes over your head.
It goes over my head. It's like water off a duck's back, as I say here. Water off a duck's back. That is water off a duck's back for you guys that aren't from South Shields. Yeah, so states 1, but 2, it's stressful because you're trying to work as well. Yeah. You're trying to work as well. You're checking your emails. You're answering calls. And for me, sometimes I think, if you want to get a handle on that phone thing and that work thing, just set boundaries. I spoke to a guy, Chris Tibbetts. He's in Elite X this morning. Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned his full name because he might have someone listening. But he said he's building out a coaching business right now. He's just been made redundant from his job, building out a coaching business. He's a high-level, executive-level coach, like world-class. He'll be world-class. He just left a very highly paid job with a huge company. World-class at coaching and consulting. And he said, Paul, I notice how many clients you have and the different levels of programs you got. How do you handle all the demands of all those different people? He said, because no offense to the guys in this program, compared to this program, like how do you deal with the demands? I said, I just set boundaries. You don't get to text me if you're in this program. You don't get my personal number. And that sounds big-headed, but it's not. It's just the thing that I'm saying here is just about boundaries. If I'm like if I was on holiday, even if I took my phone, the guys would know not to text me. Yeah, they'd know that it was okay to text you at certain times, but only in case of emergency. Mm-hmm. Like, do you know what I mean? It's almost like with any of this, it's just about setting boundaries, I think. Yeah. Like, no, I'm not going to reply to that text. No, I'm not going to check my phone tonight. I've got this new challenge right now. I'm actually failing fucking miserably at it. I'm struggling with it of spending less time on my phone because I know that I have a slight addiction to it. I know that, especially right now with the podcast doing what it's doing, the way my profile's going, the way that we're these companies reaching out to me, wanting to send me free shit. There's a hint. If you want to send me some free shit, I love getting free shit. By the way, I love it. If companies like choose any of this gear, I'm like send me whatever. Remember the first time, actually, this is totally off topic, but I got, when I was at IFS speaking in Barcelona, the first company that sent me free stuff, 2 companies were a cheese company.
Oh, I think they're called, I remember that.
Lean Cheese. Lean cheese?
Was it dairy free?
No, it was low calorie, it was low fat cheese. Low fat cheese and underpants, smuggling duds they were called. So I basically got sent cheesy underpants for my first free. So if you want to send me free stuff, that's cool. But my profile right now, it's difficult not to want to check the messages, not to check where you not to check your emails, not check where you're at in the podcast chart, because you're after that. What I'm after is a fucking dopamine hit, really.
Exactly. That's
or sometimes a fight.
Well, I say it to you sometimes. What are you looking for? Yeah.
Just looking for the next dopamine hit, the next bit of praise. Yeah. The next bit of praise from somebody. So I've got this challenge where I'm trying to do no phone between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. And I tell you what, on the days where I've managed it, it's been fucking phenomenal. I've realized how much time I've got. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's phenomenal. So what I want to touch on now, is there anything else you want to add on the boozing thing?
Not on booze.
Because you've experienced fucking, I mean, we'll probably talk about this in a future podcast on the boozing thing and handling me and that. But what I wanted to talk about is, because I get asked about this flight thing all the time. I've got a famous story about when I was traveling to my friend Krebs' wedding in, where was it again? Syracuse. Syracuse,
York,
upstate New York. So it was 3 flights actually. I had to fly Newcastle Heathrow, which was fine. I had to wait around for ages and then fly Heathrow, Chicago, then Chicago to Syracuse. So I'm on this flight to Chicago, obviously business class, because Lesley and the kids weren't there. Business class, but expenses. And I watched this film, it was like Molly and Me or something, right? And then I always have, I think I spoke about this recently, so forgive me if I've already told the story on my podcast. But I had this, it was like a family style movie, and I was like, oh, I have to text the kids. I have to ring the kids now. And I couldn't. And I started panicking. I hope everything's okay at home. Fuck, I've got another 4 hours in this flight and I'm fucking stomping. You know what I'm like? Start stomping around business class, sweating me ass off and just fucking panicking. And then the cabin crew come over. You all right? I'm like, actually, no, I'm not. I think I'm having a panic attack. Never really had one. I think I'm having a fucking panic attack. They're like, come on, sit down over here. And obviously I knew a bit about anxiety back then. This is like 2016, maybe 2015. And I knew a bit about anxiety then. And she's like, are you okay? I said, I know what you're trying to do. Tell me about your family. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to distract me, aren't you? You're trying to, it's not working. I feel anxious. I'm going, I was like, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. She said, listen, have you got any medical conditions? This pissed me right off. I said, yeah, I'm diagnosed bipolar. She said, and I've had this twice now. Are you feeling violent? I think you've got the phone.
It's disgraceful. That
it's got fuck all to do with violence. Although, listen, we've seen, and we always laugh at it when we watch TVs and movies, it's fucking retards.
Or like a serial killer or something like that.
Oh, he's bipolar. He must be a fucking lunatic. Yeah. Remember Little Mo on EastEnders? No, it wasn't Little Mo, actually. It was someone in EastEnders was bipolar. It was, who was it? I don't even watch EastEnders. It was
Little Mo was
Stacey's mum.
Yes, Stacey's mum.
Stacey's mum, and she was just, I was like, that is not what bipolar even looks like, mush. But anywho, she asked me if I was violent. I was like, no, she was talking about meds. And anyway, they rang a doctor, which I didn't even know you could ring people from a plane, who was obviously
must have been a walkie-talkie.
Who was I flying with? BA? No, it wasn't. It was like a fucking satellite phone.
Oh, right,
it's a satellite phone. It must have been like a British Airways doctor or something. And they asked me about meds. And anyway, they opened up this briefcase, gave me some tablets, knocked me out for the rest of the flight. And I was so sedated that I was 3 hours early for the flight to Syracuse, in the gate, literally waiting at the desk, and I missed the flight. Crazy that. Anyway, so I've learned a lot about anxiety and panic attacks. I've went on courses, went on retreats, spent a lot of money. And
because when you went through a stage where it was
every time I got on a flight,
not even just when you were on the flight neither,
on trains,
quite often
on trains.
I think it was in any situation that you thought, shit, I can't get off.
Yes,
yeah. Where
metros. In fact, I remember
you did the Great North.
I had to get off on a flight.
3 times or something.
Got the metro fucking 3 or 4 times because I hated being on that metro with that many people. Like anywhere that was a lot of people actually would be the same. I'd create this anxiety for myself, and I figured out a bunch of ways to deal with it. And this actually popped up. Here's a little story for you. I hadn't experienced it for ages. I got a handle on it. So before I got on a flight, I used to have to take like 2 or 3 diazepam, be out the fucking game for the whole flight. And the problem with that was that when I got to the place, I'd feel like shit for a couple of days after. Mm-hmm. And I remember Barcelona last year for IFS. We flew out there. Leslie's mum and dad came. And I remember coming back from there, and it was fine on the way out. And funnily enough, while I was there, I'd been talking about anxiety loads.
Yeah.
I've been mentioning it and talking about it. And listen, I think that the more you talk about anxiety, the more you Google the reasons for it, the more you Google the symptoms, and the more you research it, the more your attention's on it. So you'll create more of it. Do
you think also because you had been speaking on stage and your energy and your adrenaline was high?
Yes. Anyway. And also that day we'd been waiting around all day for the flight in that tiny airport. I also drank loads of coffee.
Yeah.
So there's another insight for you. Listen, you're drinking coffee and you've got anxiety, you're a fucking idiot, as I've got an empty coffee cup in my hand. But yeah, it's like pouring petrol on a fire. So on this flight,
We had been waiting around for it all day.
We've been waiting around all day.
We got on it and it taxied round. I don't know how big Barcelona airport is, but
tiny.
it seemed
inside was tiny. The terminal where we were was tiny.
Outside when we taxied on the runway, we seemed to drive for about an hour on the runway, didn't we, to get where we were going to take off.
I'd actually, and here's the sad part, I thought I'd got a handle on the anxiety, and I hadn't. I quickly realised that I hadn't. And one thing that I told Lesley not to ask me if I was ever anxious was, are you okay?
Right?
Are you okay? Be like, don't fucking ask me. Just tell me. I was like, please can you tell me it's okay? And then on this flight, I remember I was fucking sweating. But what happens is when I get that anxious, I'm not even going to say when I create that much anxiety for myself through my physical, where I'm at physically, where I'm at mentally, where I'm at emotionally, it's all created. I'm sweating, but I'm also fucking shivering. It's mad. My body just goes into this fucking crazy state.
Well, you must get a huge
hit of adrenaline.
Hit of adrenaline.
Yeah, hit of
that's
adrenaline.
what it is.
Well, I can usually sleep after as well.
Yeah.
So I get this huge hit of adrenaline. I'm freezing. It's like going into shock. I'm freezing, but I'm sweating at the same time. And I'm like walking up and down the fucking thing.
I can remember you were in the aisle seat, but I was sat next to you, and I can remember the heat radiating.
Can you?
Yeah, and like the beads of
sweat pouring off us
and stuff like that.
Once that starts happening, it's really difficult to get out of that state. My fucking foot would have been going. My leg would have been bouncing up and down like it does. And then I remember that flight, 2 things from that flight. I'd walk up and down, so I move. I think that's important. The problem is on a flight, there's not much to do. So I'm feeling anxious somewhere else. I don't mind blasting out fucking 10 burpees. Got to burn the adrenaline off almost, right? I remember once a doctor, I used to see shrinks about the anxiety, the depression, the bipolar. A doctor said to me, an average panic attack only lasts for 90 seconds. Because at the time, this is how bad my anxiety was. I'd have a panic attack in a toilet if I had to lock the door. So I used to sit having a shit with my foot against the bottom of the door because I was scared to lock it. I still get a little bit of that now. I still don't like having a shit in public toilets. But he said, Paul, no one's ever died from being stuck in a public toilet.
That's true.
He said that in a lift.
Well,
he said, why'd you panic? Because I still don't like being in lifts, by the way. I'd rather avoid them. He said, why do you panic so much in a lift? What do you think's going to happen? I said, I'll get stuck. He said, do you think you'll die? I'm like, no. All that's going to happen is to get stuck and then people come and get you. Anyway, he said to me, the average panic attack lasts for 90 seconds, which was very helpful, actually. Yeah. So I walked up and down the aisle, couldn't shift it, sat back down. Lesley's mum said, do you want a digestive? I'll never forget this. I said, I don't want a fucking digestive. I'm having a fucking panic attack, man. I think I've never said the word fuck to Lesley's mum. Yeah. Do you want a digestive? Do I fuck?
Well, I'm just trying her best.
So was I. And Lesley, and here's what happened, right? Here's what I have to do, okay? This story's quite famous in that. What time do I have to go? 15 minutes? We've got 15 minutes. Cool. Anyway, we're rushing the podcast.
It's not that long, that story.
Well, we'll just leave the kids on the beach waiting for you. Where you been? Recording podcasts, son. Anyway, so I'm having this panic attack. I'm one of the things I'm quite famous for on the stage. I tell the story how Football Manager saved my life, i.e., stopped me from having panic attacks on flights. So she said, put Football Manager on your iPad because I'd done it before. I just forgot about this time. Put Football Manager on your iPad. And then Lesley starts just doing the thing that flight attendant was doing, which is distracting me from this panic attack. Because the reason Football Manager works for me is because the anxiety that you create is not just down to your physiology, but also down to where your attention is. So I'm focused on the fact that I'm stuck on a flight, there's nothing to do and I can't move, right? And I'm hot but freezing at the same time. And so basically Football Manager holds my attention, right? It holds my attention. I'm going to share what I did this time around though. Football Manager holds my attention. So my attention cannot be on Football Manager and having a panic attack at the same time. It's called diversion. So I divert my attention from Football Manager. Then Lesley started asking me loads of questions. Can you remember?
Yeah, I can.
She was like, who are you on Football Manager? Like she was pretending she was interested. I said, I'm MK Dons. Then what did you say?
Who manages MK Dons?
Who manages MK Dons in real life? And then I remember you saying things like, are they any good?
And do you know what? I don't think the questions diverted your attention. I think the fact that you thought was so hilarious that I thought it was hilarious.
Like she was showing an interest. Like, who manages them in real life? Are they any good? Who plays for them? I was like, what league are they in? How are you doing? Who gives a look at your team? And I just started fucking laughing. So what you did was Football Manager divert my attention a little bit. And actually I'd been playing it for a bit as well. I think I was bored.
I think
I was bored because that
had worked for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I agree.
And then
no, I think it had worked for like an hour.
And then it had kind of And then
it wasn't holding my attention anymore. It wasn't holding my attention anymore, and I didn't have a backup. I didn't have a backup. So Lesley diverted my attention by making me laugh, and then I think I read a fucking newspaper or something. Yeah, I read a newspaper.
And had a nibble of a digestive.
Yeah, then I had a digestive and apologised to Lesley's mum. Do you know what's interesting as well, though? I remember last year I started creating one as well. We went to Tenerife. Actually, it was this year, February. We went to Tenerife, flight there, no problem at all. I had things to do. And then on the flight back, my iPad died and I didn't have a backup plan.
That's because you've told yourself the story.
That Football Manager has the cure.
You need your iPad to
Football Manager has the cure.
Stop you from having a panic attack.
Yes.
So as soon as you thought, shit, I haven't got my iPad, you thought,
fuck, what
that means I'm going to have a panic attack.
Yeah. Do you know what I started doing?
And then you created the panic attack.
Yeah. Do you know what I started doing, which was mad? I went to the cabin crew. Fuck, what am I going to do? And I said to the cabin crew, and when you're on a flight like that having a panic attack, it's fucking terrifying, Lesley. Terrifying. You guys listening in will know. I went to the cabin crew. I said, have you got one of those charger packs for like a phone or something? They're like, oh no, we're not allowed them in. They're a fire hazard. You try to convince me that you're not allowed them on flights. So I started walking up and down the plane, seeing who had one. And then eventually I saw the cabin crew again and I stole his newspaper. And then honestly, because it was only the last half hour, what the fuck am I going to do for half an hour? How crazy is that? Because what I will say is that anybody that creates any kind of anxiety, we can't just sit and chill. I talk about this at Tyson. We can't just sit and chill. That's not in our fucking vocabulary. Our mind has to be on something. So I basically got the newspaper and I read it from fucking cover to cover. It's the first time I've read a newspaper for about fucking 4 years. And I haven't read one since. But I read it from cover to cover only because it held my attention, which is crazy. So this time around on this holiday, number one, I made sure my iPad was charged. Number two, I made sure that I had a fucking replaceable battery. But what I did was I remember meditating the day before I came and I was fucked. And actually, when I'm tired, when I'm tired, I actually create more anxiety because my body's all over the place. And I tend to be relying on adrenaline, right, to get through things. So I rely on caffeine and adrenaline when I'm tired. So I remember meditating. I was chilling the day before. And I started feeling anxious. I started thinking in the future about the flight. Fuck, I don't feel great. What if I have a panic attack on the flight? What if this? What if that? And I solved it quite quickly. And it's an amazing list. I might try and upload a photo on social media of the list. I made a list of things that I could do on the flight, and there must be about 22 things on it. I always love show Nina it. Nina loves reading it. What are you going to do on the flight, Dad? Got a list of 22 things, tick boxes. Everything from, so I have to be prepared mentally for this flight. And what that means is I have to fill up my iPad with TV shows that I like, movies that I didn't watch a single TV show on 2 flights. No movies. I didn't play Football Manager either, by the way, at all. So I've got movies, I've got TV shows, I've got apps, games, Football Manager, other shitty games. I've got books, fiction books, personal development books,
hard work,
business books. Well, that's what I did. Yeah. And I bought 442, which I was gutted because I read that. I mainly read a magazine on the way out and read a book. And then on the way back, this is a great thing, I did work. So both flights out, I just had a massive list of things to do that I know would hold my attention. So things that I like, football magazines, or actually on the way out, I just watched a jiu-jitsu instructional, remember?
Yeah, I do.
I watched Gordon Ryan's.
And because you said, I need to try this thing out.
I need to try it out, and Lesley, it's nothing weird, by the way. It's how to shut down half guard. How to shut down the underhook from half guard. So I had to practice it, and Lesley, as soon as I got off, I was like, Lesley, can I practice shutting down your underhook? But that kept my attention for the whole flight, making notes on that. I actually downloaded a couple of things on Audible on the iPad as well. I think, what did I download? Values Factor, Dr. John DeMartini. And I downloaded something that clearly... a book by a guy called Jack Donovan. And he's so dramatic at reading his audiobook. It's amazing. I listened to those 2 things on the way out. And then on the way back, I just made a list of things that needed doing the week I got back. That took ages. So I organized my week for on the way back. Holds my attention. And then I just start taking action on the things that need done when I got back as well. The next thing you know, the flight's over. Haven't even got my iPad out. But I just have my laptop with me as well to do the work on. But that's how I get through flights. Like, anxiety free. Yeah. Amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you want to add to this, Les? What's it like being married to someone that loses their shit on planes? Here's what I'll also add, by the way. I don't even talk to Lesley for the whole flight. Do I?
No, not really. Well, I sit in the middle of the kids.
They're all right now, though.
But they are all right now, thankfully. I mean, I've had some really difficult flights.
Tell you what we always get, though. We always get comments on how well-behaved the kids are on a flight. We've had loads of them. Hey, your kids are very well-behaved.
Why? They're not always well-behaved.
Thanks to the iPad.
Well,
Thank fuck for
Max
iPads.
now, if he's got an iPad or anything, he's
fine for the whole flight.
He's fine. Nina gets bored very easily, but so you have to.
Don't know where she gets that from, much.
I mean, Nina has got you through a flight.
Yes. Just by demanding my attention.
By demanding your attention.
Yeah,
she's took up a lot of your time.
Yeah, she has.
We used to play little games, didn't we? Where we used to pass notes across to each other.
I love doing that. We used to write notes to each other. But now on a flight, I'm just in my own world. I always have to. Again, it's still a little bit. A lot of shrinks would call this like a comfort blanket. You shouldn't need it, but I'm like, I have to be in an aisle seat. I have to be sat on my own. I could do it. In fact, I flew to Dublin with horrific turbulence in the window seat. I was all right with that. Yeah. But I love being in an aisle seat so I can stretch my legs out, so I can get up for a piss if I need one.
So you can get up and
so
walk
I can move.
I think.
So I can move around.
I think, what's it like for me? I mean,
do you worry about it now or not?
A little bit.
Do you?
Well, I worry that you worry about it. So, you know, when you say, oh, well, I wonder. Do
you know what gets rid of the worry?
I hope I'm going to be all right on this flight. And it makes my stomach go,
oh. Because you've had to deal with this not being all right.
Yeah. And obviously.
Because you can't do anything about it either, really.
I can't do anything about it. Yeah. I don't want. The biggest worry for me is that you have a panic attack on an airplane and the kids see it and they get stressed out about it.
Yes.
So for a long time.
Well, Nina got a little bit stressed because she locked me in the toilet the other week. I started crying.
Yeah, I can remember.
Yeah.
I used to make it get the diazepam, even when you used to say, I think I can do it without. I used to make it get the diazepam because I thought, what the fuck is going on? And the kids are there and they start having a panic attack and I've got to convince the kids that you're not going to die.
I'm only worried about it when I'm not on the flight.
Yeah.
And all I do to quell the worry, action's the only answer with anxiety. I quell the worry by making me list and making sure I'm prepared. And that's what you do for any situation, really.
Yeah.
Like Conor McGregor has this thing where he says, you only doubt yourself when you're not working, right? Which is true. But I'm like, the only time I'm anxious about the flight is when I'm bored, when I'm not doing anything. So if I'm anxious before I go on, I either, like, if I'm anxious a few days before the flight, it means I'm bored. It means I'm not occupying my mind. So I just do something that is relative to the moment, or I prepare. So the way you lower your self-doubt and lower your nerves and lower your anxiety before going on the stage, for example, is to prepare. You force me to do that. I mean, I'd just blag a fucking speech because it's what I'm good at. I'd just blag a keynote. But I'll tell you what, I'm more nervous presenting to the guys in the office, 3 of them, 2 of them last time, than I am speaking in front of 1,000 people.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's good though, isn't it? Because if you're more nervous doing that, that means you're going to perform
1,000 people is easy. But what I'm saying is that if I'm going to be in the future and I'm worried about it, I have to do something about it, which for me is making a list of the things that I could do, making sure that I've got my books. And again, listen, I've got to tell you this. I take loads of shit in my bag. My carry-on bag has it doesn't have my clothes in. My suitcase is also massive as well, isn't it? It just has stuff that I could possibly do if I start to create anxiety, and that settles me down hugely. So again, I've got at least 2 books every time. I've always got one magazine. I've got my iPad. I've got a notepad. I've got my journal. I've got all of that shit. But often I don't have to use any of it.
No.
Sometimes I'm like, I watched a BJJ instructional, listened to some audiobooks and read my book on the way out. On the way back, I just worked the whole fucking time.
I think also, I mean, anybody who suffers from anxiety or on flights or just generally is worried about going on holiday, like, I think it's, when you think about it, I mean, we've always been open and honest about it, but some people might not actually want to admit to their partner that they're feeling anxious and stuff. And I think it's really important that you talk to your wife or your partner. Or
you got to have a plan.
And just tell them that that's how you feel. Yeah. And then,
look at how many people we've seen mortal on flights. And I'm going to guarantee that's something to do with getting anxious.
And I mean, be honest with yourself as well and think, oh shit, like this is how I'm feeling.
There's nothing wrong with it, by the way. It's actually, if you think about this, I think that me creating that anxiety is a bit of a superpower because it means I've got a fucking creative intellect. It means that I'm a high-level problem solver. In fact, think about this. I've said this. It means that my brain, if it's not solving problems, is so creative, it'll fucking make them up. How cool is that?
I know.
Like, that's where all these ideas come from. Because, again, I'm making up a problem because it's not the dying that I'm scared of, by the way. It's not the plane crashing. I couldn't give a fuck about that. I don't even think about that. It's just the fact that I'm stuck on a plane. I can't get off. Yeah. That's it. It's not the dying thing. I don't have a fear of flying. It's what a lot of people would call claustrophobia.
Yeah.
A lot of people call it. I'm not calling it that because, again, I used to get this in jiu-jitsu, by the way. I'd be anxious as fuck in jiu-jitsu. I'd tap from, for you guys listening and know jiu-jitsu, I tap from side control. And it's because
we're stuck.
I didn't know how to get out. Mm-hmm. Now I know how to get out. I can't do that on a plane, so I have to figure something else out. But now, when I'm in side control, my mind's not automatically going, I can't get out. It's like, okay, well, if I put that hand there, what will happen? What if I just turn my head this way? What if I turn my body in instead of that way? What if I just bump him up so he's not on my tummy and he's on my chest? What if I push him down so he's on my legs instead of me fucking hips? Whatever it is. So yeah, listen, don't forget, if you've enjoyed this podcast, I hope you have. I've had a fucking blast. So thank you, Mrs. Mort.
I have too.
Was it as bad as you thought it was going to be?
No, I've really enjoyed it.
See, there you go.
Just do another one.
There you go. So again, there's an example of someone that was stressed and worried before she came on, and then once you did it, it was fine. I love it. I love it. So don't forget, if you've enjoyed this podcast, leave us a rating, leave us a review, leave us some comments on this episode of the podcast, and we'll do more of them. I'm sure you've all got questions for my wife on what it was like to go through all those challenges that we went through, what it's like to be married to a fucking lunatic, live with him 24 fucking and work with him now, which is nuts. Yeah. And don't forget to subscribe, and don't be a dick, share it with your friends. And by the way, whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways that I can help you. Number 1, grab my book, my first book. It's £8. Go to unstartablebooks.com. 2, go and get a bunch of free stuff at paulmort.uk. Number 3, work with me personally inside of one of my unstoppable programs. You can do that via DM me on Facebook, DM me on Instagram, or send me an email via my website. Hope you have a great day.